That was a beautiful session. If you missed it, it was Rahima interviewing an award-winning author by the name Stacey Frew. That was amazing. So good to see that. But moving on to another interview. Today, we are looking into, last week we saw the health minister who had came out in a public video where she spoke things that were really out of context. And today, health right groups have responded to a campaign that is carried out by Operation Dudula, who are at public health facilities and clinics, and they are chanting that they want foreign nationals to be removed from those, or rather prevented from getting health services because they are apparently burdening infrastructure. Today we talked to Secretary General from the TAC, which is Treatment Action Campaign, Anele Yawa. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Sorry to cut you off, sir. Can you please speak a bit louder? I think your audio is on mute. Can you just try and unmute that for us, please?
Okay, sorry. My apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you nice and clearly.
We are saying thank you for inviting us, and we are pleased to be joining you today.
It is always an honor having people of such great stature, joining us on our show. But back to the issue where with Operation Dudula's, removing people or refraining people from getting health care. What's your response to the picketing that's been carried out?
Okay, as TAC, as we are coming from our 7th National Congress over this week, and we have discussed this. We have discussed issues of international solidarity. We have discussed issues of medical xenophobia, and we have discussed xenophobia at large. As TAC, we believe in the rule of the law. We believe that South Africa and all its citizens are governed by the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. And within Section 27 of the South African Constitution, there is Section 27 of the Constitution within the same Constitution, which gives rights to the citizens of South Africa, those who work in South Africa and those who stay in South Africa, access to adequate and quality healthcare services. And two, if international institutions like your United Nations, your World Health Organizations, which South Africa is a member of, subscribes to the fact that health is a fundamental human right. If South Africa seeks to implement the NHI under the auspices of universal health coverage, it therefore means that whoever that goes around health facilities, removing people who are not from South Africa from those health institutions, that person is actually violating Section 27 of the Constitution of South Africa. And therefore, the South African government has all legal powers to act against such people. If also in South Africa and elsewhere in the world, we are not mindful of the fact that we do have people who do not have state or stateless people. And if we are saying health is a fundamental human right, it therefore means these rights must be guaranteed and protected across the world. So it means if health is a fundamental human right and we're talking about universal health coverage, it means we are saying everyone across the world has a right to access quality healthcare services irrespective of the race, gender, nationality, creed, or affordability. Who are we as South Africans to undermine the same international and constitutional right of the people and begin to say, let's take all people who are not citizens of South Africa out of our medical healthcare facilities. That is unconstitutional, that is criminal, and it must be described as such.
Speaking on foreign nationals accessing, or rather humans accessing healthcare, how true is it that foreign nationals are contributing to the collapse of public health and clinics in South Africa?
I think as the people of South Africa, at times we begin to be too economical with truth and not speak truth when it is supposed to be spoken. So, South Africa has just finished a 4-year process of state capture, which was shared by the current Chief Justice, Justice Zondo. As the people of South Africa, we have listened, we have watched, we have heard how state institutions, the state-owned entities, the private sector was captured by the politicians and government officials who decided to connive with those who were determined to loot and bankrupt the coffers of the state. What does that mean? It means all those billions and billions of rands that were looted, those billions were meant for service delivery. Those billions were meant for development. So it therefore means the actual people who are depriving the majority of the people of South Africa access to quality service delivery are the same people who looted from the state coffers. All those people who are implicated are the ones who are failing our state and its institutions. But also, the question we must ask about the so-called illegal migrants. South Africa is part of the SADC. All these ministers and government officials, they sit together at the level of SADC. South Africa is part of the AU and African Parliament. How often are our government officials and political leaders are raising issues of people who are crossing borders illegal and access services in other countries? What agreements are the South African political leaders are trying to reach with those leaders from the countries where these people are coming from in order for the governments of those people to be able to pay the bill in the event that citizens of their countries are coming to the borders of South Africa illegally to access certain services? Thank you.
Wow. Just to add on to that, if this way of picketing, like the way the people are picketing and sort of refraining people from gaining access to healthcare, if this procedure is continued or rather prolonged, how do you think this will affect people who are now trying to seek medical aid? Medical assistance, rather.
Before I can go to your question, what we need to answer as people of South Africa, all progressive forces and Operation Dudula. One, what do we mean by the word foreign? Africa is one from Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar. The existing borders in the whole of the continent of Africa were not created by God. They were created by those who colonized Africa, by those who raped Africa, by those who milked the natural resources of Africa. That is the first point. The second point, what does hatred against one another means in the context of Africa? What lessons we as the African people have learned from the genocide that took place in Rwanda in 1994 between the 7th of April and the 15th of July, where African people killed each other on the basis of ethnic groups. More than 350,000 people and countless others were murdered. over ethnical reasons, and on the basis that one ethnic group had privileges over the other because of a system that was created by the colonialists. We as the African people are hell-bent at fighting each other because of the systems that were imposed on us by those who colonized us. If we're talking about the foreigners, why are we not saying about those white people who are foreigners in South Africa and in Africa generally? Why, when we talk about illegal foreigners or illegal migrants, always we're talking about people from Zimbabwe, people from Lesotho, people from somewhere, and we do not talk about those of European origin? So, as Africans, we need to begin to talk about what Pan-Africanism is, what Africanism is, so that we can begin to look at each other on the basis of our Africanhood than based on our narrow nationalism, and also subject ourselves to the borders that were imposed on us as Africans by the colonialists. So what it means if South Africa or the officials within the Department of Health or within our government are going to continue to deny the non-South Africans access to healthcare services, the same officials and government officials are violating Section 27 of the Constitution. And anyone who is in contravention of Section 27 of the Constitution, that person is committing a crime, and legal steps must be taken against such a person.
Wow, that is really, you just gave us food for thought for us to literally consider when we're just sitting in our comfort of our homes, you know. Another thing is, what do you make of the targeting of healthcare in the latest trend of anti-migrant sentiment?
So, the other question that we need to address as South Africa is that South Africa has a population of about 60 million, and about 42 million people are public healthcare users. In order for them to get well and healthy, they need to access the public healthcare sector. Let's look at the health workforce. Both for private and public, South Africa has less than 500,000 healthcare workers. That includes doctors, nurses, pharmacists, dietitians, you name them all. So one of the problems that we have in South Africa is a shortage of human resource for health. We're talking here about the frontline healthcare workers. And if South Africa wants to deliver what has been promised to its own citizens in line with Section 27, it therefore means that, firstly, South African Department of Health must make sure that we hire more healthcare workers. Also, as the country, we have seen more healthcare workers have succumbed to COVID-19. We need more healthcare workers from South Africa. We need more healthcare workers from somewhere elsewhere in the world. If during COVID-19, the South African government was able to spend millions and millions of rands bringing to South Africa Cuban doctors, why it is wrong when the Department of Health is hiring other healthcare workers who are credible and who've got the qualifications, who meets the merits, why it becomes wrong when they are hired in South Africa? It can't be. It is against that reason we are saying as TAC, we need to end medical xenophobia. We need to end xenophobia. We need, in fact, not to end it, we need to root it out. Here we are being misled by the imperialists, by the colonialists and the capitalists. We are being misled and redirected to fight against each other. Instead of us as African people directing our anger and our struggles against those who once colonized us, those who continue to milk the natural resources of Africa. Those are the people that we normally call investors. Those are the people that we normally call business people. These are the same people who continues to milk Africa. These are the same people who continues to rape Africa. These are the same people who continues to pay certain groups of Africans to kill, murder a certain group of Africans. It is against that reason as TAC, we stand with our African brothers. It is against this reason as TAC, we stand with all poor people, we stand with all public healthcare users across the world, from India, from Argentina, from Brazil, from Zimbabwe, from Mozambique, from elsewhere in the world. We say all those who are denied their rights by their governments are actually violating their rights. Their governments are actually violating the same international right which says health is a fundamental human right. And therefore, as in South Africa, we cannot be seen as a country that is continuously participating in the violation of human rights. Yes.
Wow, that was Anele. Yawa. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and giving us insightful information that I feel like will leave us introspecting ourselves as to the lookout as to what does it mean to be African. Thank you so much, Anele, for joining us this evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Viewers, that was Anele Yawa from TAG, which is Treatment Action Campaign, which he shared such beautiful insights, like, you know, in terms of telling us that as Africans, we should be one, like the continent that it is.